and let the one who has no sword sell his cloak and buy one.
So he pulled out his gun, and they let her go. He never fired a shot. He served 3 years in prison. Hey guys, this is special defense training, and I want to go over something a lot of gun owners don't think about or think they'll need it, and that's some kind of legal self-defense coverage or protection in the courtroom. So stay tuned.
This video is brought to you by Holsters by Defense Training. Make sure to check them out at holstersbydefensetraining.com.
Alright guys, I want to go over the portion that we don't tend to prepare for, and that's a coverage of some kind in the court system after the attack. I know we often think we'll deal with it later, or it can't happen to me, which thinking that it won't happen to me is an oxymoron in this case, as you're carrying a gun to protect yourself with the mindset of being attacked. And with over 80% of clear-cut self-defense cases going to legal trial, much less than civil trial, there's a much higher chance of you being sued than being tried criminally, and you having to defend yourself legally is over 80% of the time. Even if they kick your front door in, 80+% of the time you're going to court. And I'm here to tell you from first-hand experience that you can and will be tried both legally and civilly if the opposing side thinks they can get away with it. We must be prepared for it before the self-defense incident occurs. I know a lot of people believe that since we have the right to defend ourselves, we are good if we shoot someone in self-defense, and that's that. Well, after the shooting, you must defend yourself in court as well to prove you were actually defending yourself. We also tend to get hung up on the fact that we have the Second Amendment here in the U.S. and that we're good by just being a law-abiding gun owner. Well, unfortunately, we must protect ourselves in every aspect of self-defense incident. And if you're like me, you can't afford the typical $25,000 retainer fee, much less the $50,000 to $100,000 of a full cost of court. This is the full trial, typically is over $50,000. I worked asset protection most of my life, and I was in a case where I was accused of using too much force. I had observed a suspect purse snatch an older lady's wallet out of her pocketbook, so I approached the suspect to detain and have arrested. Upon approach of the suspect, he decides to start hitting and elbowing me in the head. So I picked him up and I body slammed him. I handcuffed him and detained him to hand him over to police. The police took the report as usual and transported the suspect to jail. The next thing I know, I have 2 different police officers serving me with a warrant of using too much force. They issued a subpoena with a court date. Fortunately, for me, I worked in the business for many years and the court system knew me well, so I didn't go to jail. If I'd been just another Joe Blow on the street, I would have been arrested, and they made that very clear. I showed up to court in decent clothes, and my lawyer, he had a $3,000 Armani suit on, and this is what is needed in the courtroom. A lawyer that looks like he makes a lot of money and is good at what they do. And we went through pre-trial, and we went to full trial with this case, and had I not had a good lawyer, I do believe I would have been sent to jail, even though I was well within the law of doing my job. The trial lasted about 10 hours over 3 days, and I was found not guilty of using too much force. All this, and I had pictures of bruises on my face and shoulders, and the suspect had none. He wasn't bruised at all. I literally just picked him up and put him on the ground. The case cost the company I worked for about $50,000 almost 20 years ago. And it's a good thing the company I worked for had a good lawyer on retainer. Had they not have, I would probably have spent time in jail. Now, I've had several of my concealed weapon permit students go through incidences, and I want to tell that as well. One of my concealed weapon students had a situation where he ended up defending a cashier being robbed at a gas station. He came out of the bathroom at the gas station and was able to get behind the guy and put his gun to his head and get him on the ground without a shot being fired. He detained the robber until police arrived, followed all of their commands, and was put in the back of the patrol car until the police could sort things out. And this is typical, so expect this to happen. Once the police saw the video of the robbery, they let my student out, and the investigator told him to retain a good lawyer and he should be good to go. So he ended up maxing out several of his credit cards to a total of about $60,000. and he was found in defense of others. Had he have not had the means to pay for the lawyer, he may have been up a creek without a paddle. And now he has to pay that $60,000 off just for defending someone's life. I had another student that had an encounter with defending his little 18-month-old daughter. He went to a place where he had the right to be armed, heard some screaming coming from another room, and he went to see what was going on. He walked into two adults playing literal tug-of-war with his little girl. They were pulling her so hard that she was screaming, and there were bruises all up and down her arms and legs. He tried several times to get them to let go with no avail. So he pulled out his gun, and they let her go. He never fired a shot. He pulled out his gun, they let her go, he grabbed his child and went outside and called the law. The police showed up and ended up taking him to jail. The investigator talked to him and told him to get a good lawyer and he should be good to go. But said they needed to be good, not the run-of-the-mill lawyer. So my student calls me and he starts talking to me, and I don't know if you know how much information you can hear in 4 to 6 seconds, but you can hear a lot of information, and I was like, dude, shut up, come on, dude, click. So I hung up on him. He called me back. Started talking, telling me more information. Now I want to tell you now, I'm not under the Fifth Amendment at that point. I'm withholding information if the police, in which they did, come to me and say, hey, what did he tell you? I have to give them that information, so you need not talk to anybody. Don't tell anybody anything. He should have just called me, in which the third time he called, he said, hey, why do you keep hanging up on me? What do you need, and stop telling me stuff. So he did. He said, I need a good lawyer, and I told him who, at the time, was the lawyer I suggested. And he called me back telling me he couldn't afford the $15,000 retainer fee. Do note that this was 12 or more years ago. The retainer fee typically today, this is 2025, is $25,000 for a good lawyer. He ended up taking the court-appointed attorney and ended up signing a plea deal in which he served 3 years in prison and 2 on parole. Now you need to know, statistically, over 90% of self-defense cases take plea deals on the side of the defender simply because they can't afford a good lawyer. That really messed his life up. He lost his job, ended up moving, seeing as the town was harassing his wife and kids. So they moved and had to start all over again. Once he was out, he had a hard time finding a decent job. He joined his family when he could and started his life all over again. And I'm going to tell you now, I felt really, really bad for that. Because I couldn't afford a lawyer for him, and he couldn't afford a lawyer, so he took the court-appointed attorney. And at this point, I started searching out for some kind of insurance to help with this. Would homeowners insurance cover this? Not really, and it was expensive. It covered somewhat, but not really. Would any other insurance cover this? I really couldn't find anything outside of the insurance agencies that is specialized in self-defense, and honestly, I wasn't really happy at what I saw. The biggest ones, still to this day, will drop you if you're indicted in a crime. And there's a high likelihood that you will be, and they know this. So they take advantage. Basically, they take your money for the coverage and give some excuse of why they won't cover you. Don't get me wrong, they have good training materials, but their self-defense coverage sucks. And if you're with this company, I suggest you drop them like a bad habit. Seriously. They absolutely suck in coverage. So I was in search of a company that would cover me in the legal and civil realm of self-defense, and a company that wouldn't drop me just because I was charged with a crime. I'm going to tell you that you're high likelihood you're going to be charged with something until people can sort things out. And I actually looked for several years until I found Right to Bear. They had good coverage and good lawyers on their team. They will cover you legally with no caps and civilly with no caps, including any appeals needed. They also won't drop you if you're indicted in a crime. It's more than likely going to happen. You're probably going to be charged with something at some point, and they're going to still cover you. They're not going to drop you, which I really appreciate that. There's a lot of the companies out there that, if you've been checking around, a lot of them don't say it, but they will drop you like a bad habit. Do not go with those companies. In fact, don't go with any company if you're going to think about going with them, because their coverage sucks. The only one that I really found, there's a couple out there that are okay, but the best one that I found was Right to Bear, and this is why I partnered with them. They also cover expert witnesses, psychological support, and gun replacement Now I saw this and was like, okay, how much does this cost? I checked into it more, and to my surprise, it's a pretty good rate. They also offer multi-state coverage, bail bonds, and minor children protection. I saw this and searched some of their cases and was like, wow, okay, sign me up. And the coverage is really good, and if you use the link below, you'll get a discount through us. We're partnered with them now. There was a guy that's about 30 minutes away from us. He's about 30 minutes up the road, and he traveled to Maryland and wasn't thinking about having his gun on him and was pulled over for speeding. He told the officer that he was armed, which is a customary thing to do, and it's a law in a lot of states. The officer then arrested him for being illegally armed in Maryland. He contacted Right to Bear, and they got him out of jail and sent him home. He finally got a call from his lawyer telling him the charges were dropped for the gun, and they took care of the speeding ticket as well. That's pretty darn good, because if you know anything about Maryland, they don't like dropping anything, and they will try to put you in jail for having a gun for 15 to 20 years. There's some other added bonuses Right to Bear that are great as well. They have added attorney-prepared simple wills and annual updates for free for members. State-specific web-based free living will form available to members. Aid in representing oneself in small claims court, so they'll help you with that as well. Assistance in solving problems with government programs such as INS and welfare if you need that. Attorney-written letters on your behalf and attorney-written phone calls on your behalf. And all of this is free for its members. That's pretty good. They also offer discounted services. They offer simple will with minor's trust at a discounted rate. They offer Chapter 7 bankruptcy about half price of the going rate. Non-payment of court-ordered support of whatever kind. Uncontested divorces at a cheap rate. Small business and corporation, so if you need that as well, it's about half price. Residential real estate document overview, I believe that's about half or less. And my personal favorite is traffic ticket defense. I have a lead foot, so I'm probably going to need that one day. Now granted, I have an official EMS tag on the back of my vehicle, so typically they ignore me, but I may need it, and I appreciate that. It also covers other stuff under traffic ticket defense. There was a man near me that's son went out partying and very stupidly drove home drunk. He was pulled over, arrested, and then he had to represent himself in court, which is big money. That's a big money ticket. It was around $10,000 for the lawyer to represent him, and fortunately one of the Right to Bear reps heard about it and knew they had Right to Bear coverage, and Right to Bear covered it for $89. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't condone drinking and driving, but I've been young and dumb, and I have a little boy that will probably be young and dumb at some point. So I appreciate the coverage being there. I can't stress how important it is to get covered to protect your assets, and the perks with Right to Bear are an added plus. Check the link in the description below to check them out and enjoy a discounted rate of 10% by going through our partnership. This is Spencer with Defense Training. Stay safe. Stay armed.
We've been instructing firearm training courses since 2008 and offer South Carolina concealed weapons permit classes, church safety security team training, advanced handgun training, ultrasonic handgun cleaning, and much more. Go to defensetraining.org for more info and to get signed up for a class. Also, make sure to check out our online store for our custom Kydex handgun and magazine holsters. We offer in the waistband, outside the waistband, appendix, and our new track appendix carry holster, as well as active retention magazine holsters, and other firearm and everyday carry accessories. Check them out at holstersbydefensetraining.com. We hope to see you at our next video.